This is a kind of different episode of the Nomad Summit podcast because we're sitting at the table with 4 people. We're just coming from a very interesting panel discussion where 4 researchers were sharing their results on studying the digital nomad community. They were talking a lot about traveling with weak passports. They were talking about the population, the size of this group. They were talking about digital nomad visas, of course. And also an important topic was the question of how to raise a family, how the likelihood of getting married, founding a family in the nomad population might differ from like a normal population of people living in one place. And now, as we all were listening to these conversations and walked over to the lunch table where we're sitting right now, everyone had opinions and more questions. So with me here is now
Milda. I'm kind of new to digital nomads world, and now after listening to what is a digital nomad, I'm really questioning, do I even want to become one?
Also here with me is
Mariam from Armenia, and the talk was really interesting, especially the part about the weak passport, because I'm the one being like in struggle with the weak passport, and now I'm thinking like I really thought that I was alone, but no. So it is actually a very relevant topic, and that would be very interesting to delve into it too.
And the 4th person here at the table is...
Hello everyone, this is Jojo from Taiwan, and I'm basically a photographer, videographer as a profession in Taiwan, and now we are starting a digital nomad community in Taiwan as well.
So we have 4 people at this table with different passport strength. I would say feels like 3 rather powerful and 1 less powerful passport, but Jojo already raised his eyebrows. So Taiwanese passport is not as powerful as I think?
Well, it's we're not being recognized as a country though. It's kind of like a complicated situation. But I mean, our passports are not stable. Since sometimes it could be useful, but sometimes the policy could change on us, and we are always the one who's not stable. So yeah.
But I guess you came on this classic like 90 days, within 180 days visa to Schengen, or how did you actually make it here to Bulgaria?
No, we don't need any visa for this, for European Union. On the democracy side, yes.
So it was a bit different for you, Mariam, with your Armenian passport, right?
Well, I would say that your passport is very strong, because compared to the Armenian one, you need to apply for visa for basically anywhere you want to go, except China, Russia, and Georgia. For example, for coming to Bulgaria, I applied like 2 months before the event, hoping that I will get at least like a week to come to here, and I just got like 15 days to come to Bulgaria, and I knew about it only a week before the festival. So it's a very long, very hard process to go through, and very annoying actually, because you're never guaranteed you'll get it, even though you spend a lot of time and money on it.
And actually, there's a little not so funny backstory from the last Nomad Summit. We had one person applying to host a workshop on how to travel with a weak passport. And I don't exactly remember where that person was coming from, but I think it was like Sudan or something like that. And so he had proposed a full workshop program with like tips and tricks, and the workshop in the end didn't happen because he was denied entry to Thailand. So irony at first, you're laughing, but that's the reality. And it sounds like that was a reality for you as well to travel here. You could also have been denied, right?
The struggle is real. I've been refused so many times. And I know like back home, so many of my friends right now text me that they've been refused by the Greek government, by the Greek embassy, even though you even have the invitation letters, even though you have normal amount of money on your bank account, you have everything, but you just get rejected and you never know why. And even though if you want to complain about that, if you want to talk to the embassy, there is never an answer. So you never know why.
They never disclose, so in this conversation here with the researchers, they were talking a lot about digital nomad visas. And now I think the latest number is like 66 nations in the world, like 1/3 out of all nations now offer some kind of digital nomad visa. Is that something where you, with your Armenian passport, have high hopes?
Well, we also, like with Nomad Armenia, we're trying to work on that of having a digital nomad visa for Armenia. But I haven't yet thought that I might get the digital nomad visa now. I need like more information about that. But I think like we also want to have a digital nomad visa for the other people who join. But I mean, for Europeans, for Americans, and for the rest of the world, it's very easy to come to Armenia. You don't even need the digital nomad visa for that.
I've
Armenia
been
is
there,
very
and
open.
I can.
It's very open for everyone, actually.
I can tell it's a beautiful country and definitely worth visiting.
Oh, thank you. I agree.
The other topic that you, Milda, wanted to talk about, especially after we walked out and there was someone else who did not join our lunch here, was like this question of nomadic lifestyle, founding families, partnership and stuff. So what was your opinion on this?
Just to finalize about the passports, maybe. So I didn't even realize. So I'm from Lithuania, and I didn't even know that there's can be a problems with that. But yeah, so coming back to the relationship, because for me, maybe it is a big topic in my life right now, because I felt like I was living, just like a normal settled life. Because I had a partner for 7 years, with a house, with a business, so everything very settled. But for that settled life, I was too much unsettled, if you know what I mean. Like I wanted to travel more and see the world and, wanted more. And then now, as I'm single, I'm doing all this more. And then I realized that, wait, maybe this is actually already too much. And I do want some kind of, maybe home base or settlement. And then the reason why I was discussing when we just got out and I saw someone in the relationship and they're like, no, I have to go to my partner and I can't, just randomly hop on this lunch. And I'm questioning myself, okay, so if I had a partner now, would I even want to join these kind of events? Would I even want to be, in the part of the community? And then another topic is, about the family and the kids, that it was raised that, okay, so if I want to have kids, even though I personally, doesn't matter which lifestyle I have, maybe I do not want to, but still it's like another, world with schooling and all this kind of thing. So just this talk really made me think, do I even want to, forever and ever travel like this? Or is that I'm not a digital nomad? Maybe I'm a workationer, meaning that I like having home base and then traveling maybe 3-4 months out of the year. And that's okay. So I guess the point here is not about the terms. It's about how do I feel? And then again, I also really believe in cycles of life. The big takeaway for me was that a lot of this community is not growing that much. It's more of a lot of people joined. And now after, traveling for 5-8 years, they realize that, okay, maybe it is too much and maybe it is actually good to have a home base.
Quite an interesting point and a very personal one as well. But looking around in this community in the last couple of years, my perception changed and also my opinions have changed, I must admit. So I have personally decided for a life without children, because I think that would be a limitation to my plans and goals that I just wouldn't want to accept. I love children and I love being an uncle, but that comes with the perk of being able to give them back when they get annoying. So for my ideas of sailing around the world and stuff, that's something where I feel like this doesn't fit in. That's not a compromise that I want to do in terms of the change to my own life. You, Milda, you just said there is phases in life, but children are not a phase. They are there for at least 18 years, but it doesn't stop there. So that will become a part of your life that can't change anymore. But also looking into the nomad community and seeing so many, not only nomad couples, and we've seen some new couples forming here in Bansko. Over the last couple of years, we saw more and more families, like people raising kids and are still traveling around. We had a very interesting talk by Doris Dario at the Nomad Summit, who is a mother of 3, and her oldest just turned 18 and has traveled more than 50 countries. And in that period of time, they have been relocating to many different countries. They found the concept for them that schooling the kids in local schools makes a lot of sense. So the possible options are wide. We heard in this talk here about world schooling. Doris Doris has decided with her partner and the kids that they want to stay in a country for 2 years each time, and then send the kids to the public local schools. Also, not only for the curriculum, but also for the social life, and dive into the local culture, learn local languages, which children are really quick with. So they spend 2 years in Switzerland, then they spend 2 years in Northern Ireland, like a very rare species of people, like just moving there for no other reason, like having to work there or something, just because they wanted to explore and live and send the kids to school. But more and more families do world schooling, meaning like homeschooling with exposing children to changing environments, to changing cultures, to changing languages around them, which also really resonates with me. I mean, I've been to public schools in Germany and I was lucky. I had a really good education in good schools and I was never bullied. So when I remember school, I have good memories. But talking to other people, I realized that I was just lucky. And even, I mean, public schools in Germany are not the same anymore as they were back then when I was there. Other countries are way more competitive, like you guys in the Nordics, and also many Asian schools teach so much more for life and empowerment than traditional Central European schools do these days. And so I changed my opinion, my perception a lot towards being open for these lifestyles and for empowering children by exposing them to different cultures, exposing them also to things where they develop their own curiosity. Like I remember a conversation that I had in Bali several years ago with a friend of mine who back then had like, I think a 4-year or 5-year-old who was already able to read. So that was developed just out of curiosity. So in a way where they were not sitting down with that kid and teaching them math and reading, but the kid just saw letters everywhere and just wanted to start reading and wanted to develop this curiosity.
So I would say that this concept of word schooling is very, very new for me and very, I wouldn't say strange, but very like interesting, because in Armenia like public school is very, very usual. You never get bullied at school, and it's like very supportive environment. But the thing is that I personally, if I go back, I do have good memories of school with my friends and stuff, but for me it wasn't a practical knowledge. And I would have been happy to have this word schooling myself, because now when I talk to people, I realize that they had like a school for like secondary school, high school and college and stuff, but I just personally went to the same school for 12 years. And now when I look back, it was very boring. It was very boring. It didn't give me like practical knowledge. And for me, I think that's the best for your kid, to have this, to learn by just living the life, not just being stuck in the classroom and seeing the same people, not exploring any other cultures. For me, I think it's the best way. But still, there are so many things that you should be careful with, especially like in childhood. We have so many childhood traumas. It's very easy for a child to get trauma. I personally remember when I was 5 and we moved to another part of the city, it was really shocking and really hard for me to separate from my friends. So I guess this is also very important, to take care of the child's like psychology on the way to other cities and countries.
And
but
children
still,
are very different in how they react to changing environments. And I have this great example of my brother and myself. We're completely opposite in so many aspects of our personality in our life. And part of that surely started in early childhood, where I was in 3 different kindergartens and then 3 different primary schools. And I would say I really developed from there. I learned early that I can keep friends and I can easily make new friends. So I lost any fear of like new environments. I'm pretty sure these early experiences in my life shaped a lot who I am today in terms of like approaching people, making new friends, and also having very early on deep and meaningful conversations. Like our conversation started, Milda, the other day here. We met and then we had like, it feels like 2 hours of deep talk right away.
Exactly. And I think that when we talk about this community, I feel like what is really connecting us all, I think, is freedom, right? And when you were saying that, kids is not a phase, it's, it's for the lifetime. And that's probably the reason why I never wanted that, because I really look at life with, the the reversible and irreversible decisions. And, you can buy a house, you can, start a business. And then if you don't like it, then okay, you just, get out of it. But then with the kids, it's not like that. So this is the reason why I'm, at least until now, avoiding this kind of, irreversible decisions. Yeah, the main thing here is that if we are all, so focused on the freedom, then maybe, we should just, focus more on like, okay, so we love freedom, we love this community, because at home maybe people are more into, settling and so on. And at least for me personally, sometimes I really don't feel understood when I'm back in Lithuania. So I feel like for home, I travel too much, and then for the digital nomads, I travel too little. So I'm still looking for the middle ground, and for my tribe. And like, this is the main reason why I eventually, joined this community, because I wanted to, I'm looking, where do I belong? I think it kind of all boils down to this, like just to finding your own people and to feeling good. And okay, so if I don't want to have kids, I feel like, just still looking statistically, it's definitely not the majority that would have families. And then for me, my personal question is, okay, so just a regular relationship, like the kids is like 10 steps ahead, let's start with a committed relationship. Because when we talk, like even in our deep and meaningful conversation, it was about relationships, and like there are so many different formats of it, and what is the best for me? Because when, I'm growing up, and like it's or you're single or you're in a committed relationship, and in 3 years you're gonna get married and have kids. That's the only way to go. And now the more I meet different people, I travel more, I realize there's so many things in between, and I still personally think that I am still figuring out what is the best model, because again, there's nothing right and wrong. It's just what do I want and what works for me the best. And I would say maybe this community is really helping me in a fast way to find like, okay, does this work, does this not work? Because if I would be home and 80% of people in that bubble are more settled and just, would not be able to bring such a diverse point of view when we talk about relationships and lifestyle. Because also the reason why I'm bringing the relationship, because I think it's a very, very important topic in our everyday life, right? I mean, relationships. And again, not only in the romantic relationship, but also friendships. But then maybe it's another topic.
Yeah, I mean, I want to start with why I'm part of a community, because actually to compare it in Asian culture, we don't even hug, we don't even touch each other when we say hi to each other. We kind of like, we have a lot of population, high population density in every city, but we have very little like living space. But to be honest, when we see each other, we're trying to avoid touching each other. And so by the time I first immersed myself in the States, I have a study there, like it's just for a year. I was really kind of like feeling uncomfortable when people trying to hug me or even shake hands. And then I realized after getting used to it for like around like 3 months or 4 months, I started to feel like it was just a warm affirmation, sharing caring affections for people, for good friends, for me and my host family, because I have a host family then. And then I started to think about what is all those polite and manners and social etiquette means in our lives. And then after the year of development, I feel like compared to Asian culture, digital nomad community culture is way more friendly to me and less strict boundaries about people asking. You're going straight. If you want it, you say it. If you don't want it, you also say you don't want it. But in our culture, if you want it, you don't really say it. If you don't want it, you need to use like a metaphorically way to express your feeling in order to not be impolite. And all those complicated social etiquette really draining you out of your brain, like how you should, reject people, how you should give a consent like in the proper way. It's just taking a lot of energy rather than, thinking about the more important topic or like express yourself straightforward. So, actually that's the reason why I started digital nomad community also in Taiwan, because I want to
want more people come and hug you.
Yes. I want the people just being straightforward to the topic and being more open to discuss any topic. Because I would say, okay, in our culture, if you're asking for so if you're a relationship, like are you married, it's even impolite somehow, because it's kind of like personal thing. I mean, under circumstance, of course, but it's just there are so many hidden rules that you won't learn in a school. Nobody gonna tell you. You probably have to learn it through the mistake you made in your life. to understand all those details, and you can provoke and you can get everyone angry without knowing. So you kind of have to figure out on yourself, and nobody's going to teach that in the school. And I hate that, because when people hate you after you grow up, they're going to say nothing about you. They're just going to leave you away. And I actually hate that. So I actually like the culture that if you make some mistake, if people have thought about you, they come up straight to you and using like a kind way to like kindly remind you that probably you can do anything like in another way. Maybe you could get a better results. That's a culture we don't have. So it's like a kind of like abstract self-learner in those Asian etiquettes. So I really like this spot, and I guess that's actually why I joined the community.
It's definitely a huge benefit of traveling the world and diving into other cultures, that it shows you that the same, not only in terms of like interpersonal communication, but also like basically everything in life, where humans in other cultures, other regions of the world solve the same problem in a different way. It is how they communicate with each other. It's also some very practical things in everyday to-day life that are solved very differently somewhere else. I recently had a conversation with someone of the community who was getting tired of like coming to a new place, and for the first couple of days first need to figure out like how things work here. Where's the next supermarket? What are the things they have in the supermarket? How do I dispose my trash? And that is actually, I was thinking about that a lot, because for me personally, these changing environments and learning these new things, these little new things, is where I draw so much inspiration from, because it shows me that solving the same problem, like disposing of trash, that's a problem that humans have everywhere, but it's solved in so many different ways. In some countries, you have your personal trash bin with your house that is being collected like once a week, but you need to put it out at the street. In other countries, there is a collective one for the entire street or the neighborhood, and you need to walk there, bring your trash there, and it's being collected every single night. And that's just like a random example, but it helps you to question like the most normal things that you've been used to when you grew up. When you grew up in your hometown and you've seen that this problem is solved this way here, you would never question it if you never expose yourself to another solution of the same problem in a different country. And having this variety, and I mean, feels a bit like a red thread through the entire conversation here about how raising kids, instead of just sending them to a public school, world schooling, homeschooling them, how people interact with each other, hugging versus giving a hand or not, or in Arab cultures where men give hands, but you never give your hand to a woman. Handshake there, cross genders is a taboo. Learning all these things helps you to adjust your own horizon, and comes back to what you, Milda, said earlier about like relationship concepts, that there are alternatives to what you've been brought up with. So definitely a huge benefit of living this location-independent life and changing countries once in a while.
But when we were talking yesterday about our cultures, we just realized that we have so many similarities. I would never think that like the same. We're just grown in the same society, in the same family. Like back in Armenia, if you are a girl and you cannot have male friends. It's not like it's strict and it's not allowed, but it's like your comment, you said like we spent a lot of time together. I felt like I'm at home. Like you cannot have male friends. If you two together, you're working together, there's something in between you. So when I first started traveling and having friends, I just realized that, male and female friendships can happen. It's fine. It's completely all right. Back home, like your brothers would like ask you, question you all the time. Who's that guy? Who are you talking to? And you cannot have male friends. That is something like that was really surprising for me when I started traveling. And basically, probably like 90% why I'm in this community, why I like traveling, why I like exploring other cultures, is that you figure out that, things work differently. Like the same of giving hugs, the same of touching the opposite gender. It's like you should be very careful in Armenia in that. We're very like conservative, and we shared a lot of, which was a like very surprising fact for me. I would never think that would share the same like culture and same rules. When I was like texting my friends, sending like video messages from here, some of my friends just said, "You look so much happier when you're there," and we were discussing at night, and we realized that it's like the pressure that we have there those rules that you have to maintain, you have to subconsciously have in your mind. And here, like when you're in this community, you're more open. You don't think about those little small things that don't matter actually. And I guess maybe that's why I'm also here, because I really want to live the life like openly without the pressure from the society.
Quite interesting. There is a full episode of this podcast on your emotional level and the happiness that you can gain if you do it consciously and intentionally. We have recorded that episode with Patrick Farrell. So listen into that one as well to dive deeper into and listen to two guys talking about emotions.
Maybe just for the final words about the reason of, traveling and nomading and this community is that a risk, and I see for myself, is that I do see so many different ways of living that, it's easy to get lost. Because, there's a saying that if you have too many choices, that also makes you unhappy. Because now I'm like, okay, so as you were, giving example of, how do we deal with the same problems in different places, right? So now I feel like, okay, now I know, and my mind is very open. So then how to proceed if I just want to, go and settle in one place? Because I feel like it's a risk when you understand how different can all these things be, what to choose.
I mean, choice overload is a thing in psychology. It's actually, I think, taught in the first semester. And what's the right amount of options? Also used, of course, then in sales and marketing. So yeah, it's real.
Struggle is real.
You mentioned earlier something like about life choices that can't be changed again, like choice for having kids or not. Exactly in this group here, yesterday evening at the pool party, we saw something about definite life choices, like getting a tattoo or not, is also something where I think that shows a lot about like if people are able and willing to commit to something for the rest of their life or not. So
that's another whole topic.
Yeah. Two people at this table here do have tattoos, two have not. But it sounds like, do you think there is a correlation between making a life decision for a tattoo and being able to make other like long-term life decisions, like for having children or not, committing to a partner? I mean, there was once this joke, like, don't date people without tattoos. They have commitment issues. What's your take on that, Jojo?
That sounds so funny. I never heard of that before. But actually, I was raised up in a conservative family. The first time I brought up with the tattoo to my mom, I just kindly asked, I will get the tattoo.
At what age? 12?
21st? No. She we were at dinner and she put down her chopsticks. And she said, no, I provide you this body. You have to take a good care of it. That's actually the exact words in our sayings. That was in my expectation though. So I plan to grow up several times in the following 6 months. So okay, eventually I just saying that, okay, I'm going to get it. The next 2 weeks I have an appointment already. And she was sad about it. And then later on 2 days, maybe she had another sad thing that's coming up in her life. And so she sent me her crying photos. Which is I'm very destroyed. But anyway, after several fights and I get it eventually, I showed it to her because I'm not going to hide it for life. And I say, okay, Mom, I'm just going to, put all my tattoo underneath my T-shirt. So you don't have to worry about if I will get kicked out of my job if they see me. I mean, still it's like a compromise. And eventually she said, yeah, it looks nice because it has to look nice. Otherwise, she will be the one who will be regretted for the whole life. But I really wanted, actually, the attitude of my parents really actually pushed me to really make me even wanted to have it. Because that's the moment that I finally realized that I really wanted to have one. And I think that I wouldn't even be regretful because that's the moment I reminded for myself. That's a moment of age that I thought I really wanted. So I draw every single of my tattoo. It represents some certain long-term feeling of the certain period of my life. And now I do still consider, even though I changed, but I still remember there was a phase of my life that's how I changed from. I also agree that it's kind of like a lifetime commitment for recognizing, for facing your own true color during the time of the period. And also, I have a fight with my parents, and actually it makes me remember every time when I see my tattoo. Of course, I remember the moment I decide, okay, I have to, even though I have to take like 5 conversations through 6 months with my parents, but I'll still doing it.
Now I want to get a tattoo.
Funny thing about this, like in Armenia, I would say we share again the same thing, but men would never ask for their parents for having the tattoo. For women, it's different. If I tell my parents that I want to have a tattoo, there'd be the same reaction. But if my brother did so, they wouldn't care.
That's an interesting final thought. And you all listeners in your cars, on airplanes, at home, wherever you are listening to this, take that thought for the next chapter and think about commitment issues and the correlation with having tattoos or not. We're concluding this now. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you like this one, subscribe on all your favorite platforms. You find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, and recommend it to your friends. And maybe see you at a Nomad Summit. Until then, bye-bye. Hear you next week.
Produced by radioguru.co.uk.